Hey everybody, we've got an interesting time in our history right now as it comes to how we are treating women in sports with equality. And I thought maybe it was time for me to speak about it. Women have fought so hard for their rights to compete fairly against each other. And we're reaching a situation in our time here where women's sports, women are going to be unable to compete with them if we continue to go the way we have been going. There's this really crazy thing going on right now where women are going to be unable to compete in women's sports because they have to compete against men. Now, no matter what you think about transgender issues and politics, myself, I have nothing against transgender people, and I don't believe they should be bullied, and I don't believe they should be ostracized. However, when it comes to sports, when they join a women's sport, they are, if you are born as a man and become a woman later on, or go through the surgeries to become a woman, or even in a lot of cases with how it's going these days, the surgeries haven't even been done. They're still completely 100% biological men, but they're still allowed to compete against women. And when you have testosterone your whole life, testosterone produces the building blocks to build muscle. And when you've got that your whole life, you have an advantage that can never be overtaken. Women just do not have the testosterone. Also, the body structure of a man, it's just designed, it's stronger. It's designed to take more damage. There is not a fair competition there. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're transphobic. But I'm not. I'm not afraid of trans people. If I see a trans person, I'm not going to run the other direction. If a trans person wanted to talk to me, I would talk to them. If I saw a trans person being beaten up in the middle of the street for no reason, I would protect them. There is no transphobia here. That does not bother me. I'm a strong believer that when it comes to actually everything, I believe in freedom above all else. Freedom and fairness, but freedom above all else. And I believe when it comes to sexuality that people are going to like what they like, and people are going to be attracted to what they're attracted to. And it is not my right to judge them on that. I don't believe that, as long as somebody, obviously transgender people are not going to be in my group of fans for most of what I do on this page. And I am not going to be a fan of most transgender influencers on YouTube. The reason for that, though, is not because I'm afraid of them or they're afraid of me. It's just we're not in each other's wheelhouse. We're not interested in the same things. That doesn't mean that I fear them or don't want to have them around. I really couldn't care less. I care more about people being happy with the choices that they're making than I do about whether or not I think some people agree with those choices or not. Now, that being said, there's a physical difference between the body of somebody who was born as a man and somebody who was born as a woman. And when it comes to sports, you just I really got to start hitting airplane mode on my phone before I start these videos. When it comes to sports, you cannot identify as a woman and compete against women. You just can't. because you're actually ostracizing those women. You're actually putting them in a situation where they are being held down by people who are biologically male. Can you imagine for a second that your daughter wants to compete in a sport, but she can't because men are competing in it? So she can't compete. When you get right down to it, there are a small percentage of women who can compete against most men when it comes to physicality. There are no women that can compete against the best men when it comes to physicality, raw strength, sports that require strength. Now, I'm not saying anything against women here. What I'm saying is that they're just built differently. There's a reason that we have men's divisions and women's divisions in competitions, because they can't compete. Men can't compete against women. Women can't compete against men. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. So we separate them by gender because of the physical differences between us, such as facts, right? I am a huge fan of women's power sports, women's sports in general, anything where somebody goes out and competes to be the absolute best they can be in their field. I love that. And when women go out and get into power sports, lifting, like, I love that. That is great. Like, yeah, I'm down. Like this is awesome. So it's nothing against, like, and that's another thing is the idea that we've politicized this whole thing, where now people, there are a group of people out there that are going to say, well, you're talking against women because transgenders are women because they see themselves as women. But physically, they're not. They're just not. These are facts. These are irrefutable facts. You cannot have been a man and be a woman. You cannot compete as a woman against somebody who used to be a man. The unfairness that is surrounding this issue right now is just insane. I'm surprised that more feminine groups haven't stepped up to call the governing bodies of these sports out on this, because women can't compete now. I mean, you look at Leah Thomas. As a man, she was rated, depending on which section of swimming. I think she was 540th and one. Her best rating in any swimming was, I think she hit like 83rd or something. I could be wrong on those numbers. I'm not sure. Anyways, she was, as a man, not good enough to really rate in any conversation of the best swimmers in college leagues. And also ran. Not good enough to compete against the men. Transitions to, not really transitions, just starts wearing women's clothes. Like, there was no physical transformation that happened. Maybe on some hormones, but that was it. Like, the basic structure of a male body is still there, and competes against women and just destroys them. And when you hear the stories about some of the swimmers that were forced to undress in the same dressing room as Leah Thomas, with Leah still having fully capable biological male genitalia, it's just this should have been handled so much better. Now, I'm not saying that transgenders shouldn't be able to compete. But I'm saying if they are going to compete, they should have to compete in a league against other transgenders. Because they can't compete against men anymore because they've turned off their testosterone. They're not building muscle like they would have if they continued as a male. So they can't compete against men anymore. But they also can't, they dominate women because they've had so many years of testosterone and muscle building and body structure working in their favor. So there is no comparison for them to compete either against men or women. The only way for transgenders to compete is in a transgender class. Now, you'll notice that we never have this issue going the other direction. Women never transform into men and compete in men's sports because they can't. It just doesn't work that way. But a man who transitions into a woman will dominate in women's sports because of their body structure, their testosterone levels that they've lived their whole lives with. It's so unfair on so many levels, and there's so many people calling for this to be okay because we've glorified this idea of if you want to be gender, then you're that gender. So we've reached. Actually, before I go on with this, I want to. Some of you may know I've recently started an affiliate partnership with Egard Watches, and the reason that I entered into that is because I watched some of their videos, and they're very involved in this conversation about how men are demonized for being men, how women are demonized for trying to be women, and about how transgenderism is being pushed upon us in a way that it really shouldn't be. We're not allowed. Nobody should be pushing their sexuality on anybody. I shouldn't be pushing my sexuality on somebody who has a different sexuality than me, but they shouldn't be pushing it on me. And the whole idea of forcing somebody to show respect with what pronouns you call them and everything like that, like, in all reality, none of us should care about any of that. It's just not conducive to a solid conversation on this subject. But anyways, I digress. I didn't want to get into that area of it. My affiliate partnership with Egard Watches. I'm just gonna play a video right now from them that actually really goes into. It brought a tear to my eye, and it really goes into what's going on with women in sports nowadays, having to compete against transgenders. So yeah, you guys watch the video. I will see you in a couple minutes.
When I was a little girl, I had this dream that seemed so impossible. I was going to be the fastest runner in the world.
It will be a new world record.
I got this little nugget of an idea from my dad. He used to watch me run and say, "Ain't no woman alive that can beat you." And I believed him. He made me feel invincible. It wasn't easy. I trained hard, harder than anyone else I know. But I was made for this. I was an unstoppable force. A life dedicated to perfection. But even perfection wouldn't be enough.
All right, so that's pretty powerful stuff, right? That poor girl wanting to compete her whole life, and now she's just been shut out of being able to compete in her sport of choice. Now, I'm not trying to garner any ill will against transgenders. We should all try to live in peace as much as possible, and not engage in any kind of fighting between ourselves until we have to protect what's ours, right? And we should be able to live together in peace with different sexualities. I mean, I know some very great men that are gay. I know some lesbians that are just great people. I have known some people who have transitioned, but I've noticed that just their wheelhouse gets so far away from mine that we don't speak anymore. But I bear them no ill will. In fact, I've sent messages to people who've transitioned and congratulated them on making their choices. I don't feel like this is something that needs to be as blown up as it is. So we have this interesting situation here in Canada where the governing body for women's power sports has has decided that you can compete in the women's category of women's power sports, all women's power sports. If you identify as a woman, you have to have done absolutely nothing in order to change yourself to a woman. So immediately after that ruling, a transgender lifter came in and got the Alberta record for largest bench press. Apparently, they've taken some other records as well, but the one that's famous right now is bench press. Took it by 50 pounds, so really you're getting into a point where there's no woman in that province that is ever going to be able to beat that with natural genetics, or even, probably PEDs probably wouldn't even really help. There's too much advantage there. So the coach of the Canadian Team Canada Power Sports, Avi Silverberg, I believe. I hope I'm saying that right, Avi, because I want to make sure that you know that you're respected for what you've done here. So this gentleman walked into a meet after Anne Andres, the transgender power lifter, took the record, and Avi beat, looking totally like a man, wearing a beard, men's clothing, just walked in, said, I identify as a female, walked in and beat Anne Andres' record, the record of the transgender powerlifter, beat her record by 100 pounds, and apparently wasn't even trying, in order to prove a point. And this is very important, I think. He's really put them in a situation now where they either have to go with the ruling they've made and leave a man as the record holder forever, because no woman or transgender will probably ever beat that record, or they have to do something to fix it. Now there is some interesting things coming down. I just recently read something about the Biden administration had actually put out a law saying that I'm not sure on this one. Maybe you know more about it. You can comment it in the comments. Let me know if I'm right or not. But there is actually a law going through in the States that is going to make it illegal for transgenders to compete against women. If that is the case, I applaud that. I have also heard, though, that it's worded very weakly, and that it may not completely do what is required of that law in all reality. But I hope that this is coming. I hope that we can get past this and stop fighting about this, because it's stupid for us to fight about this. It really is. All of the politics that are getting surrounded around this issue is just it's mind-blowing, and there's no ability to have a conversation back and forth, it seems, and find a consensus and find a middle ground and really to find common sense, because everybody is just yelling out their opinion as loud as they possibly can, so loud that they just cannot listen to anybody else's, and that is a horrible way to try to find consensus, because it's never going to happen. At the same time, though, we need to protect women's rights as it comes to their ability to compete fairly in their own category. I don't believe I believe it's very wrong for us to allow people who have just such an advantage over them because they used to be males, or in most cases still are males, but we're allowing them to compete against females because that's what they say they are. We really need to stop basing our choices on emotion and a lot more on facts. Facts are facts, and there's no getting past that. And emotions are not a good way to make decisions. it's my take on the matter. I would love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And yeah, hopefully we can turn this around and go in the right direction and build a positive future for everybody. All right. I love you guys.